Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dubs. I'm your host, Bill T. Another Friday, another podcast, so I hope you're ready. This is kind of a redo of a podcast that I lost when I went over to the UK, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this weekend, I'll be at the Las Vegas Auto Swap Meet, so if you're in town, you're local, come out to the Orleans Arena parking lot in the back lot, the Las Vegas Auto Swap Meet's an all automotive swap meet that my partner and I put on. It takes place from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. typically, and we'll be doing another one September 28th, just a week before my one crazy weekend. So if you're looking for a swap meet to go check out, the Las Vegas Automotive Swap Meet is where to go. So check us out at lvautoswapmeet.com, and don't forget to support your people that support Let's Talk Dubs podcast. That's VW Trends Magazine. Go subscribe today at vwtrendsmagazine.com. Also, go check out Ross Wolf today. Tons of new products. The vintage cloth braided 7.8 millimeter VW spark plug wire sets. Those are a vintage look with high performance modern day technology. So if you want that old school look on your motor, go check it out, as well as the VW quick brake light switch conversion kit. So if you want your brake lights to come on right now, right niggity now, they're going to come on. Go get your VW quick brake light switch from Ross Wolf today. Also, they've got the Ross Wolf Heritage Pattern pulley set. So go check that out. Tons of cool stuff. Always coming out with it. And don't forget the Viton gaskets. You want to stop your engine from leaking at the sump plate, go get you the reusable Viton gasket for the bottom of the motor. So go check those guys out today at Ross Wolf, WULF, rosswolf.com. And now for some of you guys that aren't into the aftermarket stuff and you're looking for 100% original NOS VW stuff, go to VWNOS.com. That's VWNOS.com. Over there, they've got all 100% authentic NOS VW stuff. So if you're looking for specific parts that are hard to find, distributors, taillights, wheel cylinders, whatever they've got there. So if you guys are looking for anything original VW and only original VW NOS stuff will work, go to VWNOS.com. That's VWNOS.com. And don't forget to use your discount code for Let's Talk Dubs when you go check out their website. So they got a discount code that says LTD. So punch that in, your discount code, and off you go. Get yourself a nice little discount on some of those parts. So other than that, guys, let's get into this podcast this week. Alex Boughen. Now, Alex is 22 years young. Just finished a car about 2 years ago, and it's taken storm of the VW scene up in the UK. It's a 1975 1200cc Beetle. It's on 3-piece wheels. It's unbelievably sick looking because it sits on airbags on 17s, and it's a good looking car. But most impressively, Alex and his dad built that car themselves in the garage. Short of paint, they did pretty much everything else, not the stitch in the interior, but they basically bought a car, built it from the ground up, welded every new panel on it, and most impressively, he got the professional builder's choice. So at the Volksworld show, they get Urs Restoration, Trailer Queen Restorations, and Spikes Vintage Restorations, and they get those guys together and they pick their favorite car. So he won that award in 2022. It's a great looking bug. There's a link in the bottom of the video that's an attachment to it. But most importantly, much respect for him and his dad building that car themselves in their garage during this time. He never expected it to be this phenomenon that it is, but now he's on fire. He's done a bunch of custom cool stuff to it, a bunch of copper accents, a bunch of hand-built stuff on that car that him and his dad did together. So check it out. It's a great podcast, and I always love to celebrate the people that are doing their own stuff, cutting their own trail, and his car does not look like everybody else's car. He's done some modifications here and there to make it look a little bit different that you'll hear about in the podcast, but some cool stuff because when you check out the car, I don't care what year you like, you'll dig Alex's car. So check it out. I'm sure you guys will dig the story about a dad and his son, and hopefully some of you guys are out there in the garage working on these cars with your boys. I know I've been in the garage working on my boys, working on my car with my sons, helping out, and I've turned 2 of them into car guys, and then I got another one here that's coming up, and he's helping me in the garage work on some stuff sparingly, but we'll get him there. But that's the best part about families, passing on some of your hobbies to your kids, having them feel the experience and the joy of taking something that most people just trash and you breathe life back into it and get it back on the road. I had a cool experience about a car that I saved from the desert that's now back on the road earlier today, and It brings joy to my soul to think of those things. As lame as it seems, it's awesome to do because it's from when I was watching Corvette Summer as a kid, and you see those cars headed for the wrecking yard, and to see them back on the road is just sweet justice. So the world is right again, and Alex and his dad knocked this car out of the park. So check the link in the description below to check that stuff out. I'll also put a link to the sponsors for this week's show. So make sure you guys support the sponsor and let them know that you heard about them on Let's Talk Dubs. We're almost to 500,000 total downloads for all the podcasts, which is pretty good. Feeling pretty excited about that. We're worldwide. And I wanted to give a shout out real quick. I wanted to give a shout out to Michael Hartman, who supported the podcast, picked up some sweatshirts. Totally dope. Appreciate it. He's out of Fairmont, West Virginia. So if you guys know Michael, he must be a stud because he supports Let's Talk Dubs and he listens to it. So I appreciate you guys for supporting your favorite podcast. So don't forget, it's not too early to go register for One Crazy Weekend. So go to letstalkdubs.com and register today for One Crazy Weekend and book your rooms. You're going to hear me say this for the next 6 months. Book your rooms because when they're gone, they're gone. And it'll be really expensive for rooms. Right now we got unbelievably great deals on the rooms. So get your rooms booked. I mean, you can probably sell them if you can't even make it. You probably sell them to some of the VW people. So anyway, go get your rooms booked. Get your reservations set. It's going to be One Crazy Weekend, October 3rd to the 5th here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So coming at you guys from our headquarters here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the Let's Talk Dubs HQ. Let's kick it off. Father and son build taking the show scene by storm. Alex Boughen from Norfolk, England, on this week's Let's Talk Dubs.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen. It's got everything that people who like the bug like.
Okay, everybody. So on today's podcast, I've got a kind of a redo of what I had before. Back when I was doing the UK invasion and I had a bunch of guys from Volksworld on there, I sat down with one of the young guns, up and coming builders. That's a young man who's built his car with him and his dad. They built it starting around COVID time and had about close to 2 years into building it. Custom built 1975 Beetle. And I had this podcast and something happened. I don't know if I had a corrupted card or what, but we're redoing the podcast today. And you may be familiar with the car if you're into the European scene at all. Alex Boughen, it's kind of a beige or manila colored 1975 Beetle on air suspension, custom wheels, totally dope. Tons of copper accents on it, and he's won some notable awards. And so on today's podcast, I'm going to welcome Alex Boughen from Norfolk, England, to the podcast today. Alex, welcome to the show.
Chet, thanks for having me.
So we did the podcast before. It was me and your dad, and we were in that studio up top of Volksworld last year, and something happened to it. And I'm glad we're able to reconnect and kind of talk about your car, the build. And one of the more notable things I think that's amazing about the car is you're just 22 years. You're 22 years old right now, or are you a little older now?
I'm 22 now. Yeah.
So you're 22. So you built that car when you were 18.
Started it when I was 18, yeah, and I just turned 20.
And you,
when I actually got it on the road on my 20th birthday. We went out for a ride to the pub.
Oh, nice.
And first drive.
Well, that's rad. So if you guys have seen this car, and you'll see in the links below pictures of this car. It's also been featured on a YouTube video. Is that right? Somebody did a feature on it. What's the name of the YouTube video?
Hand-built cars. They're the people who put it on, and then I think it's just under. If you put my name in, it will come up under that. And
that's Alex Boughen, AlexBoughen. Is that right?
That's the one. Yeah,
that's Boughen. Is how it's pronounced. So, and one of the notable awards that you won was one of the ones you're most proud of is the Volksworld 2022 Professional Builder's Choice, which was Irv's, Trailer Queen, and Spike, the three shops, like the three big heavy hitter shops there in the UK, they pick their favorite build of what they like together, and your car received that award, which is that had to feel pretty good on your side, seeing it's a home built. I mean, you and your father built the whole car with exception of paint.
Yeah, everything but the paint and the interior. And to get it to any show was like I had to pinch myself, because I had me a clean car at a show. But to get it to Volksworld and be in that main hall blew me away. To them, like on the Sunday, to hear them call my name out for an award, and it still blows my mind today.
And I mean, that's got to make you feel pretty proud. Now, there's a couple questions that I have and that we're going to get into about the car. There's so much about the build, and you did this car, just you and your dad. Is this your first Volkswagen?
So my first car myself, when I was 17, I got a Polo Harlequin.
Okay.
So the Polo with all multicoloured.
Yep.
All multicoloured pants. So I had one of those, but always wanted a Beetle. I wanted one since I was like probably 6 or 7, really young.
And when you go ahead.
Yeah. So I drove that Polo about for a few years. I only sold it like a couple of years ago because the Beetle took over, and then I wanted a van. So I managed to find a 73 Arizona import Westie tin top.
Nice.
So the Polo had to go to make way for that.
And we're going to get into the van a little bit. Is the van the car is that the one that's going to come out next, or are you working on another car right now?
No, the van it's like the most solid original painted van I've ever seen. Yeah. And I wanted to restore that and do it all mad show build. And then I thought, if I go too mad on it, I'm not going to want to like drive it into a field and go camping and that. I'll be scared all the time.
Right.
So I can get in it. It starts every time, first time. It drives wherever I want to go. It's standard height, so I can just, I love driving it. So, but yeah, the next project is bit of a secret. I mean, it's a 68 Beetle.
Yeah.
But that's all anyone knows until its debut, hopefully, Volksworld 2025. So fingers crossed.
So the next year is a plan for that. So let's talk about this build. Now, you had a Polo, and you're in the water-cooled VW scene, which in the UK is, because here in the States, the water-cooled scene and the air-cooled scene are two completely different scenes. They're not even, there's not a lot of guys that have both and go back and forth between both scenes. Is it like that in the UK as well?
There's a bit of it. I mean, you can notice two completely different styles between the two.
Right.
But I sort of got a bit fed up of the water-cooled. Like, I like to see them. I'll go to a show and I'll look around them. But I got fed up of, like, it was never, the water-cooled stuff was never my thing. It was always the air-cooled stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess there are a few people that have got air-cooled and water-cooled, but I think they mainly all stick to you're either air-cooled or water-cooled.
Now, entering into the air-cooled scene, why did you pick a 75 Beetle? What was the process to get this Beetle to start building air-cooled Volkswagen?
So I'd been looking on eBay, Facebook, everything, just to get a cheap Beetle, because at the time I was still an apprentice, so I didn't have loads of money, and I wanted a Beetle, but I was trying to get one cheap that was good, but little did I know that weren't possible.
Right.
So I was driving back from EBI, and one popped up on Facebook, and it was only 25-30 miles from me. So I just sent him a message, wasn't sort of expecting to have bought it, and he said he's got someone viewing it the next day at 6:30. I said, if I get there for 6 and I like it, would you let me have it? So the next day we turned up at 6 and looked around it, and it didn't look too bad.
Yeah.
But as you can see from the photo, it was everything and more. It was worse.
So you're thinking, I'm going to buy this car, I'm going to slam it, put some wheels on it, and I'm in the air-cooled scene, and we're all business.
There was never any intention to build what it was then.
Right.
I was going to keep it, and fix what rust it had, which I didn't think was a lot, and then slam it and drive it. But, I mean, I started digging into that, and on the advert, it said a few weekends work and it'll be on the road.
Yeah.
And clever but bad repairs, like filler over a patch and then undersealed so you couldn't see it.
Oh, wow.
They'd actually built up one of the A pillars with like silicone and then fillered over the top and then painted it. And it looked fine until you hit it, and there was obviously no metal there.
Oh, that's not how you're supposed to do that, huh?
No.
And now, do you do paint and body work like for your trade, or what's your trade that you do?
I sell car parts and deliver car parts. That's it. So I started as an apprentice in like the warehouse of like a motor factors.
Mm-hmm.
And then I now just do the phones and driving, really.
So you're not a paint and body guy by trade. You're not a welder by trade. This is all stuff that you had to learn because of budget and determination. I mean, to do this all on your own, was it a decision to do that because of a need to do that, or what was it a budget decision, or you just wanted to do it?
Well, my dad's a welder fabricator by trade.
Okay.
So that's handy. But I mean, we do like anything, not even cars, we'll do ourselves, just because if we can do it, we'll do it rather than get someone else to do it. We'd rather give it a go ourselves.
Sure.
Obviously, I can paint a few things. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'm the best. I can paint a few, but I just weren't the length we're gone on that car. I didn't want to paint it myself and mess it up or anything, so I thought I'd just let someone else do that. And upholstery, I don't know how to do upholstery at all.
Now, the build process of this car was relatively quick. I mean, you built the car in 18 months, and so when you start digging the car, you find out it's loaded with rust. And what all parts do you replace on the sheet metal?
So it's had, let me think about this, I've got to run through it. So it's had both complete floor pans, full frame head, welding to the lower tunnel, like the centre spine.
Oh, wow.
Lower bulkhead repair, complete front like bucket, inner A pillars, like the inner arch A pillars, heater channels, rear quarters, rear bumper mounts, rear valance, and then like loads of repairs onto the boot floor, rear cross members, loads of stuff.
So basically, the whole lower 12 inches of this car has been replaced.
Yeah, everything.
That's wild.
And what I couldn't buy at the time, we fabricated ourselves. And
that's crazy. So, I mean, what's your dad say? I mean, your dad being a welder fabricator, but he just kind of looked at you like, I knew you bought it too fast. He's
well, he actually came to look at it with me. And as I say, like the dodgy repairs and most of the rust had been hidden up pretty well. So I remember when we drove home, he was like, look, we'll get it on the road. He said, but it might not be like in a few weeks or what. I was like, yeah, that's fine. No, that's cool, yeah. And then one weekend I was ripping out the interior, and the carpets actually had wood nails straight through the floor, self-tapper screws literally everywhere. And as I peeled the carpet up, was just hole after hole after hole after hole appearing.
Oh.
And I thought, because we hadn't set ourselves to do a full resto, I thought he ain't gonna like this. He ain't gonna want to do a whole. And he came back from work, and he was like, "Well, don't panic. We'll get the pan off, and we'll do the pan, and we'll do the repairs." So still, even at that point, when we took the body off the pan, which was welded in patches and everywhere, even then it was going to be do the repairs, blend the paint in, and then like fully restore it in a couple of years or whatever. But as things went on, everything just snowballed. And
now, when you guys blew the car apart and realized the body was welded to the pan, it was they used weld, gum, silicone, glue, anything they could get their hands on to stop water from coming in and try to make the hole disappear, right?
Yeah.
When you guys now this is right around the COVID time that you're doing this. So did that open up time for you guys to go kind of full steam ahead since there wasn't much happening?
We were still working, like all of us in our house were still working. But obviously the COVID meant we couldn't go out anywhere and we had nothing else to spend my money on.
Yeah.
I didn't buy anything for like a whole year other than car parts. So yeah, we just spent every time, like after work, weekends, any time at all, was spent on that, and just to keep us busy, really.
And one of the things I love about the car, I love the wheels on the car. What is the story on the wheels?
So the wheels are from Limebug.
Mm-hmm.
Limebug, he's a legend. He sorted me out with loads of stuff for that car. So I saw these back when they built their Reed Green Beetle, and they had some. I think it was like 2016 or 17, and from that I was like, I need a set of those. But even when I was building it, I thought I'm never going to be able to afford those. I'll have to go gas burn or something. And then I thought, when it come back and it's painted and it was all being bolted together, I was like, this needs to debut with the proper wheels or not at all.
Yeah.
So I saved up and got those, and they're amazing. They're machined from like billet aluminium, and yeah, they're one of my favourite parts of that car.
So it's a 2-piece or 3-piece wheel?
3-piece.
So it's a 3-piece billet smoothie style 17-inch.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, these wheels are gangster, man. These things it fits the car so good. You look at it with the wheels and the big hubcap, and it looks like an early model. And the taillights, they're smaller taillights. In the States, a 75 Beetle had the big elephant feet taillights. And so
it did have those originally.
And you swapped them to the 71?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
and we moved out the filler flap on the side.
And went with the early tank.
Yeah. So me and Dad flushed out the original fuel tank and used parts of the filler neck off the original tank and made that like pre-68 looking tank.
Oh, you made that tank?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, there's a lot of cool aspects you have on this car where there's bits of brass and things to that extent. What was the inspiration? Because you got a lot of little brass pieces here and there on this car. What's the inspiration behind the brass pieces?
So the first thing that was actually done in like the brass and copper was where I was mounting an aftermarket steering wheel and I had this machined boss. I needed a cover to go over that just so it looked a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And we stood there sort of wondering what to do, and Dad said, what about copper? I was like, yeah, that could work. So we found a bit. He sat in the garage for like 20 odd years. So he bent it up and he welded it together and polished it up, and ever since then, like any little details that I think look cool, we've done everything, even the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
I've made completely out of brass, copper, and then sanded up this bit of oak like a surfboard.
Yeah, I saw it.
That's what I board.
Yeah, it's got a super slick look to it, with especially with the rear view mirror and the little bits and pieces that you've done to it is super cool. It just, what I like about it is it's got kind of a common theme going throughout, especially and then with just the accents of brass are just kind of cool. The brass copper look, it's just such a cool look. And it's something different. Usually people get a late model Beetle, they go full German look with it, or they'll try to do something where they're trying to be really hardcore vintage. What I like about your car is that your car has kind of its own style. You know what I mean? It's got the modern flair, the 3-piece wheels. It's got the brass bits to it. It's got its own vibe to it where you remember this car specifically,
Yeah, that was just like a mix of different styles of bits that I liked, that I was like, yeah, that's going to work. Because sometimes people can get bits from different styles and put them together and they don't work.
Yeah.
So I was carefully picking out bits. And we've said, like, it does really well at the like air-cooled shows. And it also is really well received at like the water-cooled and newer style shows, because I think it hits both of those, sort of going on what we were saying earlier.
Right.
It goes those sort of categories is slammed with the.
Yeah, it definitely bridges the gap. I think the air suspension pushes it towards the water pumper guys where they like it. The air suspension 3-piece wheels, and then the water cool guys are always trying to do a little bit of throwback stuff where they can kind of tie to the heritage of the car. But I think this car does a really great job of kind of bridging the gaps. It's got a super cool plaid style interior. I don't know if that's tweed that you have in there with the inserts, but like just a classic style that you have there. Now, in the rear package tray, underneath the rear window, there's normally a piece of metal there that's covered with carpet. Now, in your car, it looks like you've kind of sectioned a piece in there. What's the story behind that?
So yeah, the bit behind the grille is obviously really hard to paint, and it was quite rusty in there. And I know you can drill out the spot welds underneath and remove that bit, but I didn't really feel comfortable doing that at the time, because it was my first, like, the first one that we'd sort of gone that far on. I didn't want to start pulling out panels and then not everything line up. So we got in there and Dad said, well, how about cutting this out? I said, yeah, and we'll bend a bit of metal off. And we sort of stood there thinking about it, and he went, what about a bit of like plexiglass? And I was like, do you know what? I think that'll lighten up the interior a bit, which it does.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone who looks at it goes, oh, I like what you've done under the rear window.
Yeah, it's cool.
So,
it's definitely cool looking. Now, in the UK, these later model Beetles, they're known as like 1302s or 1303s. What is this Beetle here? Because I'm noticing it seems to be, if I'm just going to guess, like a standard, because I don't see any headliner on the B pillar and down.
Yeah, it's a 75 like 1200 standard. So basic as you can get. No chrome trim, no headliner, or no like full headliner.
Right.
But yeah, just a standard 1200.
And so a standard 1200 back, when you would buy a 1200, because obviously you had the different options in the UK. Here, everything they sold was a deluxe Beetle, right? So if you bought a 75, it was a 75 completely decked out. It had everything on it. So this 75, like you're saying, there's no chrome trim on it. Kind of like my Mexican Beetle in here is a standard, right?
Chrome trim on the outside, but nothing on the inside, like none on the dash. So, and like the number plate like cover on the back was like this weird plastic thing. It was proper, like, just as cheap as you could get, really.
Right. And they came with a 1200cc motor, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So to find one of those, are they fairly rare to find one of those in like a 75 1200? Are they out and about pretty common?
No, they're pretty common, but they're all. I think because like the newer ones, they're thinner metal, and they put the foam up in the back gutters and that. Most of them just rot out, and they've been patched up for MOT. Like over here in the UK, we have like a yearly test called an MOT,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they've just been patched up to get through them. That most of them aren't even worth saving. I mean, that if I'd have known what it was like before, I wouldn't have even bothered.
Right.
Because, but when you get so far, you just got to keep going, haven't you?
Yeah. There's just, you get to the point of no return, right? And so it's just like,
Yeah.
well, we've done the pan's looking all beautiful now. Can't stop there. Might as well finish the body now.
That's it. Yeah, we done that. We repaired the pan first, and then we went out to the body and braced it and just cut the heater channels, cut the cross members, rear quarters off, laid it over the body, and was like, right, now we need to make that part of that.
No, it's definitely something that's just a real smooth look throughout. I mean, what I think I really like the most is that this is really a lot of hard work between you and your dad to build this car that most people would have just junked and threw away. And not only do you build it and you've got this car, but you've got a real standout car that's taken top awards at all the shows. As a matter of fact, the issue that it's in Volksworld is the same issue that is the one that my brother has, a sand beige bus that he built here in Vegas, is in that same issue of Volksworld. And I think, I think did your car cover Volksworld?
Yeah, hang on. I've got.
Yeah. So he's got, there's that connection with Las Vegas. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
At the top, that top corner picture on the cover is that beige.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's the bus. So my brother's shop built that bus, but I thought it was super cool because that's when I first saw it, because I used to subscribe to Volksworld, and then I saw the issue at my brother's shop. Yeah.
That one there.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
And it had your bug on the cover, and it's just what issue is that, Volksworld?
September 2021.
September 2021. So yeah, if you guys have that issue of Volksworld, you can check it out. But it's a super rad car. And now motor that's in it is 1641, you said?
Yeah, 1641 on 36 Del Autos.
And that motor, you and your dad built that motor?
Well, we bought the block and then built it up from there, really. We've done, because my mum and dad have got a 68, so we've rebuilt that like a couple of times or whatever. So we sort of knew what we were doing a little bit, but regards to tuning twin carbs and everything was our first go. So luckily my dad's mate is like really, really good at tuning carbs. So he came round. Like me and dad were trying to get this thing started the first time for ages. Yeah. Like the whole weekend, his mate come round like 10 minutes and it was running, tuned, perfect. So, but some people have just got that knack, haven't they?
Yeah, no, there's absolutely for sure. So with this car now, you got the motor done, and I noticed the exhaust on it's kind of a different exhaust system, and you've got like kind of the whole rear apron pulled out. What's the story in the exhaust system?
So I originally had like a GT style exhaust, but it was getting so hot it kept bubbling the rear quarter, because the exhaust was like a centimetre off the valance, and I wanted a cool exhaust, so we cut that rear valance out, and me and dad laid under that car for about 2 weeks, and we built that whole exhaust system. I bought some like two mufflers off eBay, and me and him, we sat under there, got a load of stainless bends, a load of stainless straight pipe, and we came up with that. But trying to make that work with like everything underneath moving, like the air eye,
Yeah.
still be able to get to everything. It was quite tricky, but it sounds so nice. When it's just ticking over, it sounds pretty standard. And when you give it full throttle, it's got that nice grunt to it.
Yeah, it kind of wakes up.
Yeah, and it looks really, really cool with that rear valance removed.
Nice. That's I mean, there's a lot of stuff now. Now this car, when you finally built it and got it done and started showing it, were you driving it a bunch, or were you like focused on how clean it was, you weren't trying to drive it, or do you actually put miles in this car now?
Yeah, no, I've drove it since day one, really. So the first show I went to was about an hour and a half away from me.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my dad jumped in there, and never expected anything. We left at like 6:30 in the morning, just drove there, parked it up, cleaned it up, and at the end of the day, the bloke comes over to me and says, "Can you just make sure you're near by the main arena?" I was like, "Okay, yeah." And they called out all these awards, and I was like, "I don't know why you told me to do that." Like, and then they come to the last one, and he was like, "Best of show, mine." And I was like,
"Oh wow!"
Yeah, I never expected anything, so to come away with that was ridiculous. We all couldn't believe it, but yeah, I've drove that since day one. I still drive it now.
What show was that you took best to show it?
Beetlejuice.
Nice. So you took took best to show at Beetlejuice, and then which catches you by surprise. But now the problem is it's raised the bar, right? So now the next car you build, everybody's going to be like, okay, what are you going to do now? So, I mean, now after getting, putting the time, effort, and energy into this car, are you going the same direction with the 68? Like really just try to put attention to detail in there and do just some cool stuff?
This next one is ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Already, and we're just finishing. So the 68 that I've got is my brother-in-law's old car. He's had it for about 13 years.
Yeah.
Him and my dad sort of semi-restored it about 12 years ago. But it was just like to keep it on the road. Like all those years ago, we didn't have the space or anything to do full body off restos and that. So it was just to keep it on the road, whatever. So he wanted to sell that. I wanted a new project. So I've got that, but I thought I was starting with a better car than the 75. And it turns out it's sort of like 10 times worse. So,
really?
Yeah, so I got that in mid-October. Started the metalwork, actually started cutting the first piece off on the 27th of November. And we'd just finished all the metalwork.
Oh, wow.
And that's had new floor pans, frame head, heater channels, complete bulkhead, full front quarters, valance, tanks around, full rear NOS quarters, rear valance, complete boot floor, rear cross members, anything you can think of, it's had.
So you've done the same thing that you had to do to this car. You've had to do the 68 now. More.
But more. Yeah, so the 75 was like lower rear quarters we had to do. This one, all in the inner arch and everything was had it. So I managed to find 2 no old stock rear quarters, and we've done that whole rear quarter and the whole front quarters both sides.
So on the rear quarter, are you going up to the belt line, or are you going all the way up the window?
Halfway up the window.
That's wild.
To make then, but I bought a sandblaster as well, so everywhere I can get has been sandblasted. Messes up the workshop, but it's worth it.
Well, that's it. Now, I'm assuming this car will be on air as well.
Yeah.
Now, how are you liking the air systems? I mean, a lot of the guys in the UK are running these air systems, and the air systems that are here in the States, they're normally just to kind of lift the car up to get it moving, and they don't ride very good aired up because they don't. A lot of them don't use bags. And we've had Craig with Limebug on the podcast, and he talked about his shocks have been valved and stuff like that, so that they ride good. You can ride with the car aired up, and it's not like riding with stiff shocks. So are you the air systems that they have there? They're fully functional. Like you drive on them pretty good, and no worries with that.
Yeah, I drive mine like I used to drive it higher. I drive it a bit lower now, but I can drive that full height, and it feels absolutely fine. Drove it all the way to Belgium, and perfect.
And how long is that drive to Belgium?
Probably total, probably a 9-hour drive. But I'm like the worst part. Oh, you'll know because you went to Air Mighty, didn't you, from over here?
I did, yeah.
I think, we always say the worst part is driving this side is driving UK side.
Yeah.
Once we get off the train, the other side is fine.
Oh yeah.
Or get off the ferry.
The streets over there are super, super smooth. You know, like they're really nice freeways over there. I mean, you guys, I'm driving over there by Andy's place, and you guys got a lot of little death roads over there. It's like a 1.5 lane wide. You know,
they're terrible.
Yeah, blind corners, no shoulder. It's just chaos over there. I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised your cars survive over there. So yeah, I'll be. So are you going to be going? Are you going to be at EBI this year?
I think me and Dad are on about coming over in my van.
Oh, okay, cool.
In my bay window. So, but yeah, I'm hoping to get over there.
Well,
I would like to do it again.
Yeah, that's my plan this year is to be at EBI. Matter of fact, right now, I'm going to have a video coming out shortly. That's when I drop my car off at the shippers, and so my Type 34 Ghia is actually headed to. It's just off the shore over there at Andy's place, and it's going to Andy's shop, and Andy's gonna build that car for me, and we're gonna debut it over there at EBI. So it's
cool,
and I want to drive it from Andy's shop. I'm going to jump in on that cow look cruise that they're doing all over, and then we'll go to Bad Camberg and then head over to EBI. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely I can see the difference between the roads in Holland and then the roads in the UK are completely different. Yeah, I mean, so
in Norfolk as well, they're like. I mean, we live on a farm as well, and my driveway is like
super.
Proper. So I have to fully air it up, drive all the way down these lanes, and they are like 1 car wide lanes, and then get out and sort of drop the air a little bit, and then but the potholes over here, massive cracks in the roads. They're terrible, but.
Well, I definitely appreciate the info on the car, man. It's such a cool car, man. Kudos to you for building it, for having that kind of, there's not a lot of guys your age that have that kind of determination to put that time, effort, and energy in a car. I mean, do you have a lot of friends, you know, that are younger that are building cars like this, or no?
There's a few people my age, and I think they're all about my age, but there needs to be more, don't there?
Yeah, there does. You know, you're at the car shows hanging out with dudes my age, which we're in our 50s. You know what I mean? So,
I know, yeah. But then they're the people I get on better with.
Well, and I think there's something to be said, right, for cars that you really have to build from the ground up versus a car you buy on a used lot, put some air on it, put some wheels on it, and it's done.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a great thing. And I'm assuming that you and your dad bonded pretty well during the building process of this car. I mean, there's a lot of time with you and the old man together.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I mean, I'd come home from work, he'd already be in there doing stuff. And it's the same now. I'll come in from work and he's like, I've done this bit, and this bit, but I need you to check this before I can weld this in. I'm like, all right. And then and on the weekend or whatever, I'll get in cracking on in there. So
now with this setup that you have in this car with the motor, trans, all that stuff, and drivetrain, are you going to do anything? You got bigger plans for the 68, or you're happy with just a smaller displacement motor just for kind of cruising and driving and that kind of stuff, or what?
The 1641 that's in the 75 suits me perfect. I know it's no like Porsche or whatever,
right?
But round or like I can sit quite happily at like 80 mile an hour on the motorway. I don't know what that is in kilometers or whatever, but I remember when it first got debuted, me and Dad were on the way to a show, and we were like my third or fourth show, and we were flying down this motorway, and this motorway is terrible, and I look over at my dad, and he's like holding on for dear life, and we're at 100. We're at 100 on a 1641 in a Beetle,
wow.
Passing like Range Rovers and everything. But yeah, I mean that it flies. I know it's no massive engine, but it does. And round town, like I'll pull up next to kids in like a little car or something, and they're revving it, and I'm like, all right, come on then. And yeah, round town it's rapid.
Yeah. No, listen, Andy convinced me after our trip to the Netherlands, he has a 1641 in his Gia. And I said, man, these cruises are pretty nice. I mean, when you're pushing a big bus and you've got the big grades and stuff we have here between here and California, it's nice to have a big motor. And then especially in a bus, which is a lot more metal to move. But he actually convinced me to do a 16. I got a 1600 going in my Type 34 Gia and make a nice little cruiser out of it just so we can just get on the highway and just roll at a nice clip and you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I had to upgrade box in that 75 because I kept like the first year of showing it, I had the 1200 box in still.
Mm-hmm.
Would rip anything off the line. But you get to 50 or 60 and that's you done.
Yeah.
Like it was screaming.
Yeah, that's exactly how my Mexican Beetle is. It's got a real short geared transaxle in it, and it's like on the highway you're at 4,500 RPM.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually on the way back from a show broke down because I think I shifted too hard, and the gland nut, the bearing that holds the flywheel on, it basically shit itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've no gears at all. Mum and Dad had to come rescue me with the trailer.
Nice. Well, that's cool, man. I'm excited to see the new build. I'm looking forward to seeing your next build come out, and looking forward to seeing you when I get over there in the UK. Hopefully we'll be able to cross paths when I'll be over there at EBI and be able to say, hey, and see your car again. So I appreciate you for coming on I appreciate you for coming on the podcast. And then what's your Instagram if people want to check out your stuff? What's your Instagram handle?
It's harlequin.alex.
Okay. And then, yeah, man, I'll post up some pictures of this car on my Instagram, as well as a little link to the video down in the description of the podcast where people can kind of do the walk around on your car. And Alex, I'm glad we got to be able to finally sit down and get this podcast put together, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You got it, brother.
It's been good.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And I'll see you soon in the UK.
Yeah, man, that'll be cool. I look forward to seeing that.
Me too. All right, brother. Later. Well, the cat's out of the bag. The Gia's on its way, and we got plenty of stuff to show you guys. So it'll be pretty cool. We'll get you updates regularly on the build once the car hits. There's been 2 delays on the shipping, and so Zorba the Gia will be built in the UK. And then cruise. It's like a European delivery. It's getting built over there. I'm going to go over there, pick it up, drive it around the Cowlick Cruise, and then you'll see it at One Crazy Weekend. So go to letstalkdubs.com let'stalkdubs.com and book your room for one crazy weekend. Again, another reminder, book your room for one crazy weekend. If you want to support the podcast, go to let'stalkdubs.com and click on the store tab, buy some merch, support your boy. Other than that, lots of cool podcasts coming up. Got a cool guest coming in this week for a face-to-face interview here at the studio in HQ at Las Vegas, Nevada, my city. And looking forward to getting that one out for you guys. It's going to be a wild one. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. So if I'm excited, you should be really excited. And another one on the back burner after that. So lots of cool stuff coming up. And make sure you guys get ready for one crazy weekend this year. So updates on the Gia TC. Next one. We got so much stuff happening over here behind the scenes that we need to probably do a roundtable coming up soon. If you guys have any questions, discussions, or things that you want to ask or have questions answered on Let's Talk Dubs, send an email to bill@letstalkdubs.com. That's bill@letstalkdubs.com and send some questions. If you want to send George some questions, send them to george@thewagon.com and send him some questions, and we'll talk about it on the next roundtable. So I'd love to see what you guys have. Give me some of your questions. Let me get some of your feedback. Any questions you guys want answered, ask me anything. So anyway, guys, until next week, later.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out